Well, one person we didn't mention there was Adapting. He had a fantastic game as well. But why don't we take a closer look at what a few of the players around the scene had to say about the potential best jungler in the world.
Adapting is very, very good at the game. Everyone calls him the best player. It's hard to disagree with that. While I don't like the idea of a best player in Smite, I think if you're talking about top players, he's definitely in the discussion.
I think he's undoubtedly probably still the best player in the world. I just feel like he's probably the only Smite player that he always has perfect mechanics. Like if you watch him play ranked, like if you watch him, he never does any mechanical errors ever. I feel like it's just crazy to watch.
He is definitely one of the best junglers.
Adapting is still probably the best player in the world. Adapting was, I don't know, he must be a robot. He's so insanely good, and watching his stream is actually really funny when he gets mad.
Yeah, he loves winning. He hates losing, I guess, so much. But then again, he doesn't lose much. So.
And I think that it's not just, when you talk about Adapting, I think it's unfair to say that because Yammyn and Adapting as a team is why they're so successful. Those two together, I think, is the real talking point, not just individually.
Kenneth, he's just insane, like mechanics and shot calling and everything. He's just a super good player and really nice friend.
Yeah, I do think he's the best player in the world. He's definitely the best jungler, so I think we can overtake him.
Adapting is probably the second best jungler in the world after me.
Adapting, overrated. CaptainTwig is better.
It's the bossy boots Adapting. Still with him. I'll never end an argument.
Go the king. Oh, he feeds a lot. His cap pool is so small.
Adapt, the king.
King Kenneth.
That's me. It's the king, baby.
Well, there's the man on your screen right now, and as we go into picks and bans here, a lot of interesting words from a lot of people in the scene there of Europe, but the one thing that I pointed out that I noticed there more than anything was that every other jungler in this group said negative things about him, saying he's not the best, I'm either better, like I says baby, or we saw Rebby going, he's got no god pull, man, what's the worry?
The thing that stood out to me was that beautiful shot with the tree and Yammyn and Adapting poking out of each end. That was hilarious.
Do you know what the tree was, though, right? It was iRaffer playing Sylvanas. That's what it was. You didn't realize. That's exactly what it was there.
The wisps were around them. I saw
exactly.
It,
well, into picks and bans we go. We're going to see Jingwei and Ra banned by NRG and Terra and Ao Kwang banned by Obey. So a small adjustment here, Hazer, of this Terra ban this time by Obey.
Yeah, I think that was the first time we saw Terra in the tournament. It might be the last. Yeah. I think iRaffer showed exactly how strong she is with those roots, with those crushes with the two. And we see Freya picked up again for Emil, and Obey looking to take the Nemesis away from Adapting.
So they've left the Freya available, though, Aggro, and Freya did make an impact to the stage of the game. Was that utilized because of the fact of the extra CC they had to allow it to get there?
It certainly didn't hurt. You know what I mean? It's a lot easier to hit those pulse and irradiate combos whenever everyone's standing still for you. I'm okay with NRG getting the Freya first pick, but I think I would have preferred the Nemesis. I feel like that game was really dictated overall by the pressure that Adapting was able to bring in the mid game whenever the counter-engage potential from Nemesis is just so strong, and I love Obey picking it up right away on the back end.
What do you feel about this Athena pick, though, Hazer? It's not something we see too much out of the Obey boys just lately.
I love the Athena pick. I think when you pick up Nemesis, you've got a god in jungle with basically no CC. You only have slows, no hard CC. And I think, as NRG did, they comboed it with Terra, a lot of CC coming out the Guardian role, and now we have Athena on the other side. I think when you pick Nem, you need to combo it with a Guardian with a lot of CC.
Well, we do see the Khepri now picked up with the Isis for NRG here, so already recognizing that there's a lot more aggression on the side of Obey here, so Raffer's going to probably sit back now and rely on the rest of his team to do the work for him.
We didn't see the best of Khepri ults from Raffer yesterday. His team was ripping him a little bit.
If you didn't know what that was, for those of you at home that were all worried about why was Raffer ulting himself all the time, because we were too as we were off air. It was like he actually had instant cast on, so it messed him up on his casting abilities, and that's why he kept hitting himself. That's his excuse anyway.
Right, that's of course, you know, my keyboard was broken. I always use my controller, just got unplugged. You know, you've got a myriad of why that thing sort of happened here.
Before we go into the bands as well further, Variety actually broke his keyboard before he played yesterday and fixed it with super glue. He broke a few of his keys and they wouldn't go back on, and it didn't feel comfortable for him. So he has super glued some of the keys back on. So if you do see Variety this weekend make mistakes, it could be because all the keys are being pushed at the same time because they're super glued.
Did he bring you euros to pay you for that sort of like excuse that you just gave for him?
No, I legit
or was it American dollars?
I legit watched him do it. And at the same time, if I was going to take currency, it'll be English money because it's better than American. We all know that, don't we?
I agree. Yeah. Well, I like Scottish.
Wait, what is this?
Same thing. It's the same currency.
I'm used to being the one with the numbers here. This is garbage.
Well, we're into the counter bans here, and we've obviously seen the Vulcan picks up a gate this time for PrettyPriMe. Hopefully, PrettyPriMe gets off a little bit better this game. You're saying you don't like his position in the last one.
Last game was a little bit rough. Actually, I feel like Raijin would have been an excellent pick here. I think that it would have probably synergized a little bit better with the setup that Obey has already, because you can play so aggressively in the mid game with Nemesis Raijin that Isis is just going to get ulted and then immediately Thunder Crash and Raijude. Is he gonna? No, do it! Come on, Variety. We've heard rumblings.
I know we're saying ooh about the Zhong, right? But what would have Zhong actually brought to the table there, Hazer? Is it something that really should have been looked at?
I think it's interesting here. It could be a strong pick because you're looking at the Khepri. He's going to look for a single target to revive. And if you've got a Zhong coming in with the ultimate, the damage is going to everyone. It's huge AoE damage. Zhong, but unfortunately Zhong does kind of struggle against Isis and Freya. Freya can chunk him. Isis can stop him getting into the backline and doing what he wants to do. So I think maybe they won't go for this game.
We saw the Yammyn ban, right, as well. So they're a little bit more focused, worried about the double tank from Obey. But now the Chiron pick?
I'm very surprised we didn't see Tyr right there. Tyr seemed like the obvious pick to me. No reason to give it back to Dimi when he was able to do so much that didn't really show up on the stats. Just keeping the backline out of the front line's face and being able to kind of dictate the pace of the fights. I really would have preferred to see Variety pick up Tyr here. And we were talking about it during the game. They're saving Variety's pick until the very last, phases. And I don't really understand why. It's very clear to almost everyone that his Ymir and his Tyr are leaps and bounds above the rest of his god pool. And there's no shame in that. Pick the gods that you carry on instead of waiting until you can get picked away.
Sometimes, though, I sometimes may think deeper than the players, but they show Zhong, right? So maybe they want them to pick something that they think is good against Zhong, so they can pick something that's better against their god that's not going to be good against their god. Makes sense?
I think that's
I go
definitely
so
a thing
deep
people
sometimes,
do.
but I don't know whether people actually realize.
No. People definitely do that. We've done that in drafting. But I don't think Tyr's particularly good against Zhong, to be honest. With that knockback immunity on his ultimate,
that's true.
That kind of negates all of Tyr's CC. So we'll see what Variety goes for here.
He had a cheeky grin then.
He's got a cheeky grin. He's thinking about it.
Come on, give me the Zhong.
Give me Chiron solo.
There it is!
Okay.
Yes.
So, interesting lineup coming here. One of the reasons I grow before, obviously, we pass it over to the casters eventually here. Why is Zhong solo something that we don't see too often, and why all of a sudden we're starting to see it?
Well, the idea is there because he's a tanky mage, but you don't see it because he's still a mage, and you are able to get punished fairly easily. I'm expecting NRG is going to be all over this blue buff. In fact, I'd like to see NRG make the invade here. There's no reason to give up speed and blue to Nemesis Zhong.
Hazer, add to that, because obviously here, Nemesis Zhong in the jungle, not good in the early game.
Yeah, Nem might have to pick up the hog here, or we could even see Vulcan rotate over to that side of the map and help them do those buffs at the start of the game. That is something that some teams have gone for when they've got these weak jungle solo Joes. But I don't think Adapting and Dimi like invading at all. I don't think I've ever seen them invade.
We'll see if they can do it in this game then. We won't get opinions from you both because it's an interesting enough game that Afton and Tolly want to give us more action. Take it away, boys.
Thanks a lot, Hindu. As we look at the picks and bans, Obey, they've got Spice, they've got Flare, they've got a really interesting composition. But at the end of the day, NRG, tried and true, a lot of just standard picks, but it looks damn strong.
Obey, such a spicy, gave me the chills right there on the Zhong the soloing. There's a little bit of logic there where you're trying to stun out the Tyr Fearless, preventing him from really grouping up the wave. But regardless, there's other ways for Tyr to really group up the wave. You use the defensive dash through the Zhong, and then you're able to group it up if you have those bluestone ticks, and then clear it from there. So I don't really expect Variety to really get any sort of advantage.
Yeah, I don't know. Variety, I like the Zhong. I think it's an interesting selection. I think it does bring a lot to a team fight. Of course, we see it combated with Shell very often, and that'll likely be the selection.
And there's a Soul Stone onto Variety, so Adapting has a very easy target to kill at level 2 or 3 if he wants to, before Variety gets that stun and the heal up. He has to choose, because clearly he has the card now, right? So that means he's either going to get his heal at level 2, which is probably the case because you want to build those stacks, get the protections online, which means he won't have the stun available, and Adapting should be able to get an easy kill with that health pool, only being at 535.
Well, should is certainly different than what reality might be. Obey here in game number 2, looking for their comeback. They lost game number 1 pretty hard. NRG just kind of took it to the bank. And honestly, the way that one worked was adapting, stuck his head in the sand for about 12 minutes, and then showed up 5 levels above his jungler and just went to town. I think it's going to be a little bit different here. Adapting on Thor and his mid laner on Isis, I think we're going to see a little bit more front-loaded aggression coming out from the guys on NRG this time around.
And to be fair, Cringe Crew also lost very heavily their first game around. It was 9-0, I think the scoreline was.
Yep.
But then they were able to really bring things back in the second game. So now Obey, as long as they're not too discouraged after that last loss, they still have some potential playmaking opportunities. We saw PrettyPriMe yesterday get a fantastic triple kill.
Now, I'm not going to discount Obey. I think that they're a fantastic team, and they have made a lot of strides in the right direction. But when it comes down to it, I think Cringe Crew have made a name for themselves off of adapting to an opponent's playstyle and becoming better in the second game and some of the follow-up suits, in some of the follow-up games. Extended series really seems to benefit them. Obey, not exactly the same thing. But here's a question I have for you, straight up, Totally. I criticized the choice of the Chiron last game. I didn't really think it was that effective, but yet we see it again. I know Raxia loves this character. Totally, 1, was I incorrect? Did Ataraxia have a larger impact on game number 1 than I thought? 2, what's he looking to do here in game 2?
So he didn't have that big of an impact that he probably wanted to, but that was because the fact that everybody in Obey was just struggling so hard because CaptainTwig was falling behind and the ultimates were just being burned too easily between the Fear No Evil, the Raijin ultimate as well as cavalry charges every now and then. There was not much teamfight potential for Obey to really allow Ataraxia to get off. And now, in the second game, I think that as long as Obey can camp emilitoo this time around on the Fred, then Ataraxia can easily go off here.
So we'll take a look. We'll definitely keep an eye over there, but we've got an eye on Mr. Zhong. Dimi is going head-to-head against him so far. A little bit of a lead for the NRG solo laner.
And this is what you kind of expect to see here against the Zhong. Gonna use the Lawbringer, stunning him out beautifully, but still diving the tower line. Didn't have the power cleave. It was about on a 2 to 3 second cooldown. And he could have easily dove that. If he got the heal off the stand switch, being able to Fearless Variety out of the tower. But now without that Lawbringer, he can't really get away from Variety if Variety decides to commit with his own ultimate.
Exactly, so nice little turnaround there. We'll see if Variety, now hitting level 5, wants to make the play. There's the card, and here comes help from CaptainTwig. Nemesis ult, and there's the ultimate out of the Demon Catcher, and down goes Dimi for first blood. Zhong on the board. CaptainTwig on the Nemesis gets credit for the kill.
It was a beta, then a counter bait. Variety, he kind of wanted to get Fearless with that whole wave because obviously there's no Lawbringer with CaptainTwig coming around the corner. It's such an easy opportunity for Nemesis to find kills against these warriors. But on the flip side, Dimi was also baiting for adapting, but slightly not in time to really save Dimi there.
So here on the left side of the map, a little bit of a change of pace, 2-on-2. There's that Freya that was so dominant last game. About 10 kills, if I'm not mistaken, at least 9 before the final push. And here we have them again against the Athena this time around. I think the Athena fits into this composition very well. And
I'm surprised that Athena wasn't picked or banned that last game between these two teams, especially Athena Vulcan. That's such an easy and great setup, especially and every stage of the game for Obey. A lot more crowd control this game compared to the last. So we can see a lot of plays for PANDALIKE, especially with all the action in the solo lane. Maybe that's what allowed Variety to pick the Zhong, expecting some sort of action, and you can get bailed out with that Defender of Olympus.
Absolutely, and you know, even still, Obey again is a little bit light on the crowd control, but the crowd control that they do have is now no longer loaded on the ultimates, right? You've got Variety with a pretty reliable stun, despite the fact that he has to get up close and personal. And then, of course, the taunt coming out of PANDALIKE's Athena is a very big deal. Last time around, we were looking at Fear No Evils and ultimates at a cavalry charge. It really wasn't on-demand crowd control, which is what really changes the pace, or not the pace, rather, but changes the direction of these team fights.
And something we didn't talk about was Obey stealing the blue buff earlier on against Dimi. So now Variety picking up his own blue buff, doing a really good job with his build, a very glass cannon-y build, but he's been making it work. And this is a point in time where before the tier really gets magical defense, you could really punish him.
So right now, NRG, they do not have the first blood. They're down about 1,000 gold, actually. That's a raw 1,000 gold lead for Obey. I don't think Energy's too concerned. Not because they're Energy and, you know, they're whatever team they are, but 1,000 gold, give or take at this point in the game, isn't too big of a deal. And it's about exiting the 10-minute mark without that lead being impactful, I think.
The dash taunt onto Yammyn, gonna get caught up, but he's not too worried. He still has his ultimate. Nice little turnaround. Not gonna be able to follow that up quite yet. Instead of this, look at adapting. He's like, yeah, you guys are fine. I'm just gonna go into back right Harpies, always maximizing his farm.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we saw him so efficient last game. The Isis, though. I think Isis is one of the most susceptible characters to Athena. She gets taunted out of her wing gust. Her wing gust is also sort of her mobility move. It's just a very problematic matchup for Isis. So Obey should certainly look to leverage. I know you wanted Obey to look at Freya, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but Yammyn should certainly be a target as well.
Well, with Yammyn is going to be iRaffer on the Khepri, being able to really mitigate a lot of the damage with the Rising Dawn, and then he has the ultimate for the revive. So I'm not expecting Yammyn to go down anytime soon, especially considering he also has the circle protection that gives the protections as well as the heal.
Well, it doesn't count if Raffer's dead, knocked up, forced to ultimate himself, so that Khepri ultimate is going to be on cooldown. Obey definitely wrote that one down in their notebooks.
Trading 2 ultimates for 1. Now Energy, they can really start pushing around the jungle if they want to. They haven't really made a play between the Thor Isis combo quite yet. Instead, they only used that ultimate once, trying to save out Dimi. So yet again, adapting, going for a different style, trying to play off of Twig's aggression.
Zhong being aggressive as well on the right side, just pushing up onto the enemy tower, bringing it down to about half HP already.
Gonna find the taunt yet again onto Yammyn. No real follow-up, not really afraid even to pop the purification, adapting off the mark, but he does stun out PandaLike, forced to use the ultimate, and he barely survives even popping the meditation because of the Rising Dawn damage over time. Definitely would have killed him.
Just in time. Well played. PandaLike able to escape that one. Aggression on the left side is Freya, piloted by emilitoo, gonna push his opponents out of lane.
And we see just how much tower poke that Dimi took on the right-hand side. And this is the struggle of tier in the early game against any ranged character, whether it's a hunter or a mage. If you die early on, you can't really get back into the laning phase as much as you really want. You have to be a little bit more careful and get some pressure from your jungler.
And right now, that pressure just hasn't been coming.
Not at all. It seems that adapting yet again, he just wants to go for the counter aggression more than anything else. And they could have abused Variety, because now Variety's at a position where he's starting to be a bully. He's even going in 1v2. Twig is right around the corner, going to be able to just zone away Dimi, stripping the blue buff again.
You know, I think a lot of the analysts and even us here in the booth have spent a lot of times talking about why you don't pick Zhong, right? But we haven't really talked about or celebrated the plus side. One of which is a little bit of bonus tower damage, as the book will help him out a little bit if you want to talk about all these plus sides. But what else does Dr. Zhong really bring to the lane?
It's just going to be really good against tier because you can't get slowed or knocked up during the ultimate. So you don't have to worry about the fearless. You can even bait it out if you really want to and then counter ultimate. Is being able to punish Dimi without the Lawbringer is something that Variety can easily do, especially with Twig always looking at the solo lane in this set so far.
Right now, before our players have hit level 12, this is where Variety at level 11 is going to be very, very valuable. Not a single shell on the side of Energy. What Obey need to do right now before players hit that level 12, make a play on the left side of the map, use that ultimate out of Zhong before players can counteract it with their items, get the play, and then easy open the gold tree. You need to lever. You need to notice these points of advantage in the game, whether it's, we always point out power boots, right? That's where the junglers want to make their play. Right here is where Zhong wants to make his go.
Just now hitting level 12, picking up the purification for himself, trying to make sure he doesn't get chain CC'd between the Thor and the Isis. I like that idea. I thought he might have been going into the sprint just to be able to get closer into the action, chase down the members of Energy with his ultimate, but instead going for a more safer route. And that's something you really need to do because there's a lot of lockdown potential between Energy.
I think that's a team conversation as well. The Nemesis definitely is a character that benefits very well from sprint, so I think Variety said, hey man, I need purification, who can buy the sprint for me? And we're going to see CaptainTwig be the go-to character for there. iRaffer gets engaged on just a little bit, but nothing.
Oh, that stun though. Gonna set up emilitoo to poke out Variety a decent amount, but he will be able to heal off if he wants to once he goes into the mid wave, leaving Dimi alone, allowing him to get a free wave, and his teleport is still available.
But there's no reason for Dimi to teleport right now. It's not this pressing situation. Obey are filtering into NRG's jungle, and it just doesn't matter. They need to attack the Gold Fury. That's what they're gonna do now, and that'll force Dimi to come over to the left-hand side. iRaffer gets to pull onto PANDALIKE, but a wall from Adapting gonna separate the two players. Over the top comes the Vulcan ultimate, and it'll detonate the resurrection. Double kill for Variety. Zhong has paid off, and he's looking for number 3. iRaffer is taking a couple of basics, but he can't get away.
Not at all. The card just barely able to miss. A great dash just in time, finding the double kill onto NRG. And this is the beauty between Variety on the Zhong. He has so much AoE damage so that iRaffer's ultimate is less effective. Both Yammyn and iRaffer were so low from that ultimate that iRaffer, he had to make the decision, and the decision was to ulti himself.
Right there. Lost a little bit of my words. Variety going off on the Zhong. Just so surprising to see this character making it happen. Love to see the oddball choices really come out. And, you know, here's the thing. You know, we celebrate, we get excited, and we see the players sort of mouse over these spicy picks, and then they go to something more traditional. But the thing is that these characters are niche. They have a very specific application. You can't just pick Zhong because he's tanky and a mage and he's sort of like a warrior, right? You pick Zhong because of exactly what you said. The AoE makes a hazardous situation for a single target resurrection and that sort of snowball situation. So here, Variety's being very successful. We're seeing a lot of positives out of the Zhong, but in almost any other situation, he wouldn't be as advantageous.
And because of the snowball, he has the Warlock Sash already at 31 stacks, and if he wants to, he could even go into the Wingblade, stacking more health, maybe even going for E-Staff if that's his style, or if he wants to be more utility-based, he could go for Gem of Isolation. And that's the beauty of Zhong too, because you have so many options of what style you want to build into.
And that's it's my perfect solo laner, not Zhong. The idea of a Swiss Army knife, because every position on the map has a role.
And Vulcan, it's going to be Spear the Magus for option for Variety, trying to lower the protections to help out PrettyPriMe as well. It's a great idea with those dots.
You're a facilitator over there in solo lane. Your mid laner right here, he's your big front loaded damage along with Ataraxia. That's where your carry's going to come out of. CaptainTwig on the Nemesis is a facilitator along with PANDALIKE, and Variety, it's his job to really be a little bit of both. So he's going to bring damage from the Warlock Sash as well as the Spear, but the Spear's going to help out his teammates. I expect to see a Gem of Isolation as well, one of those hybrid utility offensive items.
And Twig with his second relic choice going for the Sunder. I like this idea because yet again, you're trying to burst somebody down, especially when you're dealing against iRaffer playing this Khepri. Force that ultimate as early as possible.
Still level 12 here on the jungler and the solo laner for NRG. And I am definitely still on Shell watch. Shell has been sort of the one item combatant to Zhong. And we saw him leverage that power before the second relics came out, like we were talking about towards the Gold Fury, and he did very successfully. So NRG kind of have to rush to get that shell.
And now NRG adapting was forced back. His purification was burned. He had to back to base now, and Dimi's waiting around the right-hand side, but all of Obey, they're grouped up in the mid lane. Variety's level 15 on the Zhong, just being able to poke out iRaffer with the card a little bit and then backing off. But iRaffer does have that shield off of his passive, so it's going to get negated.
Just a little bit, but Variety, you know, the genre in the jungle, just making it happen with the card. I love this character so much. CaptainTwig gonna get sunned down. Might have gone a little bit too far. Ultimate out of the ices combined with damage from emilitoo. CaptainTwig just barely alive. Adapting puts him down with the ultimate from the sky. Ultimate already out of Ataraxia, and there's PrettyPrime's over the top. Not a lot of damage there. Here comes Variety, sending everybody running in different directions. And the ultimate does exactly what it came to do. Taunt going to be missed by PANDALIKE. Here's the reinitiation coming out of emilitoo.
He's walled
Can't
off.
pick a target. Finally decides on PANDALIKE, but doesn't find a death just yet.
He was going in, but now he's going to get sniped out by Ataraxia. The misclick from iRaffer's ultimate. He's going on emilitoo to be aggressive, trying to force out these sanctuaries. Adapting finds Ataraxia. PrettyPriMe is really low, but they can't find PANDALIKE either, but Variety finding Adapting.
Exercise is good enough, but emilitoo takes him to the cleaners. Dimi gets one as well. PANDALIKE in trouble. Will run away, Winds up being a 2-for-3 scenario. NRG comes up good one more time.
That was just insane amount of action. The way NRG, they found a very early pick onto Twig that got caught out of position. He had the Sunder, and as a result, he didn't have the Sanctuary to really absorb of all of emilitoo's damage. And he's definitely going to be hurting in the late game because of that reasoning. And then NRG still spreading out so beautifully between those back left harpies, back under the tier 2 mid tower for Yammyn, just sandwiching Obey completely.
You know, it's very interesting watching that team fight from a distance, and maybe one sample size is a little bit unfair to Obey, but so Zhong is a character that creates chaos in a team fight, very similar to a Hun Bats, right? It's intentional chaos. You place it down, and the enemy team just goes crazy, and you have some semblance of an idea. Well, the problem that I saw in that team fight was Obey created all this chaos, but NRG fought into the chaos a little bit better. Everybody running in different directions, Obey included, where NRG consistently chose a target, and they ran away at first, but they came back and sort of collapsed a little bit better than Obey. So if Obey are going to be creating this chaos, they've got to be able to fight in it as well.
Absolutely. Variety just tried to avenge the death from Twig, and as a result, NRG, they weren't afraid of that ultimate because they knew they had the numbers advantage. They trusted each and every individual that they would find the right ability to be able to peel for each other and find the right kills, and as a result, it was a 4-on-2 in the end. Twig actually revived at the end once that team fight ended.
Yeah, man. He died very early on, so NRG just looking pretty strong here. At least on the comeback. Obey obviously still very much in the lead, about 3,000 gold. We're 15 minutes into this one. Obey's going to start the Gold Fury as well.
They got the first one. Can they get another one? There is no Wrath on either side. Both supports elected to go for the early meditation. iRaffer finding a nice little rooted stun coming out of Yammyn. He might be in trouble, though, going back into the tier 1, getting chased down by Twig.
Dimi's in mid lane as well. It's going to be problems for Yammyn. CaptainTwig can't find the kill just yet. Two separate fights as we're more along the lines of the objective. Chased down is the Ghost Eater, and iRaffer's ultimate going to be forced out one more time. iRaffer gets walled off, and emilitoo to the sky, dealing a ton of damage. But Variety just going to heal it right on back up. Ataraxia's ultimate used already. Dimi over the top side, looking for the Fearless, can't find it. And Obey's able to walk away, no problem. PrettyPriMe, it's good. iRaffer, sit down.
And now it's going to be Obey starting up the goal here, 5-on-4, but they are a little low. Variety is low, Ataraxia, PrettyPriMe. It's Dimi that's looking to get somebody out of position. He doesn't have the Lawbringer or the Blink to really dive the backline, and it seems that Obey doesn't recognize that, so they're just going to back off, and that could be NRG for sneaking a goal here if they see them back.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the body language coming out of Variety right there on the right corner of your screen. He did not look too happy about that fight, despite the fact that PrettyPriMe was able to take out iRaffer. I think Variety, rightfully so, thought that Obey could get a little bit more there.
There's a ticking time bomb window for Obey to keep forcing these team fights because the Spirit Orb is about to finish for Variety. He's going to be so tanky with his stacks, having the 40 protections at full stacks, having the Warlock Sash at 79, almost fully finished. Look at all those bars on his health pool.
And there's going to be the Gold Fury started up. It's Obey. NRG's going to respond. Let's listen to Obey as they take on the Gold Fury.
Okay. Khepri. I'm ulting this way.
Okay.
Fuck. I got taunted. He's fine.
I got nothing. We should have disengaged way sooner.
I got taunted.
Fuck, I got ultimate. Just get out, Harry. Fuck, man.
That was so bad. That was so stupid, guys. What do we do?
All right, listen. A lot of times we try to focus on some of the other players. A lot of times some of the fans at home say we're tired of hearing the same name. I'm sorry, baby. Adapting turns that fight around. 3-man ult, stun, spin to win. The rest of the team fights carried on by emilitoo, but the damage had been done. The 3K gold lead Obey had quickly turn into a tie game. NRG take this one and turn it around.
Such an advantageous timing window for adapting. Everything was blown onto iRaffer.
Yeah.
They were able to lock him down and kill him even before he dropped his ultimate on himself. Obey with the 5-on-4. They didn't see the Thor in the sky, and adapting taking full advantage, especially with Yammyn's follow-up damage, having a decent amount with that Warlock Sash. The long-range Spirit Ball is just such a great follow-up off of the Thor.
Oh man, adapting, just making it happen, and you know it's been a while. I think that people have adapting won't agree, but I think that people have accurately painted NRG, but more specifically adapting, as a player that has slightly slipped. Now I think we've seen bigger players with bigger dips and bigger slumps, but I don't think adapting really had a performance like he has in the past. And that play right there, if you're a fan of NRG, that's got to feel good.
And they didn't use any of their relics in the last team fight. It was probably still on cooldown from the last one. If they had that meditation available, surely they would have survived that initial burst and then maybe turned things around. Even PrettyPrime's ultimate wasn't used in that last encounter, but despite losing that last goal here, Obey, they're still feeling very confident enough to take this aggressive positioning around the blue buff.
Oh, for sure. I mean, before Obey had, what, a 3,000 gold lead? That's cute, but it's not really anything that they're going to win the game off of. Now, NRG ties it up. Obey feels that a little bit, but it's more of a glancing blow to the shoulder than an uppercut to the jaw. So Obey's going to take that and run with it and deal with it as they move forward. 20 minutes on the clock here, folks. NRG just turn it around and tie the game back up. 9-7 read the kills, as NRG has been a little bit more aggressive, or rather successfully aggressive.
And now Variety finishing off the Spirit Sword. He has the 100 stacks on his Warlock. He's going to be extremely tanky. He's level 18, and there is no shell to deal with his ultimate on the side of NRG. I'm really surprised that the sprint was being picked up by iRaffer instead of the shell.
I mean, I guess the idea is to just run away from the Zhong and then re-engage. NRG does have a good re-engage tool, right? We just saw it in play. Basically, Yammyn can drop a circle of protection, or the team can run away, and then as soon as the siren is done hitting at a Variety, down from the sky comes adapting, and NRG goes for take two.
Another is something that NRG can do is really just wall off the Zhong if he comes forward. Adapting can just be waiting in the back sidelines, look for that perfect disengage tool. Good job by iRaffer not getting hit by the meatball. The rest of NRG, they're trying to figure out what they really want to do, and adapting is on the top left side, trying to probably go into PrettyPriMe in the back.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see the wraparound. Not going to be in the books just yet for the young jungler here. Adapting poised, ready to make a play. Just going to dash into the mid lane, catch some experience. He's level 16. Comparatively speaking to CaptainTwig, only 15.
Variety, though, he was forced into the purification, I think, off of emilitoo's whoop. So that's going to be a huge timing window for adapting to really, he's going to be able to go in the sky and really lock him down. Despite the Spirit Robe, though, it's going to be tricky to find the kill.
Should be. We'll see how that one develops for sure. Right now, teams, where do you think they're headed, Tully? Because really, I just see some farm.
Gold Fury's still down for about a minute and a half. I don't think either of these teams quite yet, with only about 50,000 gold collectively, what they want to do around the Fire Giant. They're still just picking and choosing their spots. They're going to be able to ward aggressively around the Fire Giant and hope to catch somebody out of position.
So right now, as it stands, NRG have won game number 1, which gives them at least a single point. And that'll push them up to about 5 points, putting them in the lead. Obey, if they're able to split here, will continue their tie with NRG. Yesterday, at the end of all of the games, we saw both these two teams combined with 4 points each. So as these teams are tied at the moment, it's really up to Obey to make sure that this one winds up in a split so they can stay competitive against NRG. Otherwise, they'll be looking up at 7 points from their own 4.
They're so close together, tight-knit group already. They're both able to split against Cringe Crew barely. They both 2-0'd Cyclone yesterday, so now they're able to really see where they truly stand in the group standings. Last time these teams faced in the online stages, it was NRG being able to basically demolish Obey.
And this time around, I don't think it's going to be that easy. Obey, like we said, put up a little bit of a fight at first in game number 1, but CaptainTwig kind of went a little bit too much. Right here, CaptainTwig looks like he's going just the right amount. Finds the ultimate. It's going to be answered back. There's PANDALIKE coming down from the sky. Here comes Thor, spinning to win on PANDALIKE. It's going to be taunted out. Well done. But Panda's still in some trouble. Pop, pop goes the Ice's ultimate. emilitoo over here in some trouble. Vulcan is going to hit nobody. iRaffer gets tickled by it. And Panda exits stage north.
CaptainTwig, though he was thinking about double dashing in, but instead wanting to peel off. Just so much damage mitigated from Obey. So many cooldowns used. Adapting, he's the only one still with an ultimate, whereas Ataraxia is the only one for his team. So not too many playmaking opportunities. The relics usage was quite used there, but now Obey, they're feeling confident to start this Gold Fury.
And here comes the rest of Energy, and that should chase Obey off of the objective for sure. But look how non-committal these fights are, Toli. Once Variety hits his ultimate, everybody runs away. And then Energy, once I guess Yammyn comes in, everybody from Obey runs away. That's a big commitment. Good taunt coming out of the support there. Dimi and iRaffer caught up in the confound. Variety leading the charge. Right side, CaptainTwig chasing down Yammyn. That's a big one. And the rest of Obey chasing down the left-hand side.
Ooh.
Nice knock-up. Yammyn still alive.
iRaffer's ultimate coming in clutch there, but now he's he dashes away. Not able to really lock down any target, but getting them so low that it's still technically going to be a 5-on-3 in Obey's favor.
And the gold goes the way of Obey as well. Nobody on Energy anywhere close. And that'll give Obey their lead back. It's going from a tie game to just a little bit of a lead. Just barely over 1,600. But it's something to start. Obey 25 minutes in, even with the team that beat them by about 20,000 gold last time around, you gotta feel good.
But now Variety getting caught out of position. 1v5, forced to use his ultimate, and now PandaLike trying to save, and the circle protection gonna find Variety, and then Whoop stops the dash from PandaLike. If they can find a second kill, it's gonna be Energy getting the Fire Giant.
And that was an egregious mistake by Variety. Whatever Energy do here, it's going to be a big chunk out of Obey. You see two players sitting down for 40 seconds. That's a tier
Phoenix.
1 tower. Energy pushing onto a tier 2 tower. Totally thinks it's a Phoenix. I mean, this is, oh, you just can't be there, Variety.
Just too long of a cooldown respawn for Energy, but instead of going for the Phoenix, surprisingly enough, they see Twig on the right-hand side, forced to disengage, gonna strip away some of the jungle camps. Playing very safe right now is Energy. They had a 30-second window to really get that Phoenix. Now, granted, one good Vulcan ultimate could turn things around, so I respect the idea to back off, especially with baiting around the Fire Giant. At this late game, emilitoo can just start melting people.
And also, this is a team, ooh. Not going for the Fire Giant even.
I don't think that they really needed to, but knowing Energy, this is a great change of pace from them. They know what they're capable of in the late game. They've had so many late game scenarios, both online and LAN, that they don't feel like they have to press the issue going forward. It's now CaptainTwig getting caught out this time.
By himself, by his lonesome. emilitoo gets credit for CaptainTwig. Too many players for Obey out of position. Adapting, looking to punish the support. Lands down. Not going to hit PandaLike. There's the Berserker's Barrage and a couple more hits. And Adapting finds another kill. That's 5 in total.
And now Dimi landing in the back, going to be able to fearless Variety. He's probably going to go down here, but he's so tanky. The ghosts are coming out, but no return kills. Ataraxia from a distance does find emilitoo with a card from Variety.
And that's just, oh man, so unfortunate for Obey. I almost feel bad for this squad because the players, they're playing fine. The moves have been all there, but too many times we've seen these players just in the middle of nowhere. You're not supposed to be in those spots. You're just not supposed to be there, Toli.
No, not at all. And now CaptainTwig reviving. Overall, it was a 3-for-1, but it was a very important kill onto emilitoo because had he survived, that's a free Fire Giant.
Exactly.
The Freya late game level 20 with the Bancroft's talent doesn't have Ratatouille finished quite yet, but will still be easily able to melt that late game objective. And now Energy, they're still waiting for the aggression coming out of Obey, adapting, going for a different style. And that's just an interesting thing to see coming out of him.
I mean, we even saw that in the early game on the Thor. Usually Thor is the one that creates the pace of the game and just allows players to follow him, but instead the Thor was finding these counter engagements, following CaptainTwig and going to wherever he made a play. So Thor, this entire game, has been sort of reactionary rather than the proactive character that we've seen him be in the past.
And Obey is looking so much better this game than the last, going against Energy, one of the most veteran experienced players in all of Smite, playing together for about 18 months in general. And Obey, they've been doing really well since the last spring split when they were known as hungry for more, coming off of a 3-9 deficit, being able to turn things around and then qualify to Smite DreamHack Masters.
I mean, it's interesting. This is the same team, but at the same time is very much different. There's a taunt from PANDALIKE and a nice knock-up onto two different players. But NRG still not hard committing, and Obey can't force them.
You don't really want to commit onto a Freya that's going to be able to melt you with that Pulse Irradiate combination. Still trying to finish off that Rod of Tahuti, and that's going to be a big timing window for NRG to keep waiting for as Obey. And maybe that's their timing that they're trying to force these fights before that big item comes online.
It's very possible. It's very possible, and likely so, in all honesty. You always want to make your plays around those power spikes, like we said, whether it's time, item, or level related. iRaffer gets knocked up, and a lot of damage going on to him. Forced to ultimate himself, looking for the revive. iRaffer's the one that gets the kill of the Ataraxia with a little baby dot. Over the skies goes emilitoo. Can't choose a target quite yet, but adapting can. Lands on Variety. One basic, two basic, gets stunned out, but the Zerkers can't be stunned the second time, and that'll take down Variety.
And it's going to be able to take out 2 members on the side of Obey. Now blinking in the backline is Dimi trying to find PrettyPriMe. Yammyn is going to be able to find the stun from a distance onto Twiggy, but Dimi switching targets now. PANDALIKE falls, Twig falls, only remaining members PrettyPriMe. This is going to be a deicide.
Again, more damage onto the mid lane. He's gone, and PrettyPriMe able to pick up the kill, but it's just not going to be enough. 3 players still alive from NRG. PrettyPriMe does what he can, but like I said, not going to be enough. NRG have 3 players up. They could probably get a tower if they really force it, but instead, they're going to look towards the fire giant.
That thing is low. He's going to take a lot of damage from these pools once it comes. He might be able to just walk away and reset from the pools. There's just so much time from Obey. However, Variety is respawning in 10 seconds with teleport. Looking at the wards, there is some around the mid harpies, but I don't think he's going to get here in time.
This is a greedy play. NRG trying to go all the way loco here.
They got it.
Fire Giant falls down. 4 players on their team gets it. The only one that doesn't get it is iRaffer, but I think that's okay.
Variety did show up, but it was a little too late, unfortunately. And that was a very important timing because not only did NRG get the Fire Giant, but emilitoo respawned in time to pick up the buff. This late game Freya still without the Rod Tahuti, but now having Fire Giant NRG, once they start grouping up, this is going to be so scary because we saw just how fast Ataraxia fell in that last team fight, despite it was iRaffer that was the primary focus.
I mean, iRaffer was the one. So don't get it twisted. iRaffer didn't do a ton of damage to Ataraxia, right? It was just a little dot tick, but every little bit counts. And like you said, Ataraxia has been quick to fall, I think, not just in this game, but in game number 1 as well. I still have really yet to see the Chiron impact.
Ooh, PANDALIKE trying to save out Variety, but it's emilitoo chasing out the Athena. Instead of going onto the Zhong, Queen getting instantly collapsed, yet again out of position. PrettyPriMe getting juggled in the back.
And there's just a special delivery. PrettyPriMe fearless directly into the damage from the Freya. PrettyPriMe likely to fall as soon as Dimi catches up. But on top, 3 players from Obey gonna walk away. Dimi
trying to juke out, but not going to juke long enough. The rest of NRG show up to clean up PrettyPriMe very cleanly, and Obey's positioning in this mid to late game has just been completely abysmal.
I mean, and that's the thing, not just by themselves, right? You get picked off. All right, it's not a good thing, right? But it happens, right? You walk into the wrong spot, all of a sudden you're on a ward and you get collapsed on. I'm not forgiving the players for being in the wrong spot, but that's almost understandable. But in these team fights, Obey, they're spread out, they're split up, they're fighting on their own. I don't really like to say this a lot of the times, but the players look like they're playing a ranked game, Tolly.
You just have to be able to know how to close games out, especially against NRG, but now it's iRaffer taking a lot of poke. He's still holding onto his ultimate, but doesn't get it off in time. PANDALIKE, though, does get traded 1-for-1. NRG still aggressing, though. Yammyn's getting pressured, but CaptainTwig backing off.
Nice slow coming out of the jungler, CaptainTwig right there. He's 3-4-4. He's had a very average game, as his slash line seems very average right there. But that was a good play, just forcing NRG off of the stoop.
Still waiting for that right opportunity is NRG to keep making the plays. They got the left side Phoenix. They're going to back off. They still have Fire Giant buff for another minute and a half. If they want to keep aggressing, they should be able to get their tier 2 on the right, but adapting doesn't want to take the 1v1. Going to give up the Go Fury to Obey, but at this point with NRG having the Fire Giant and a little bit of a lead, they don't really care about that one.
I don't know. Maybe they should, Tully. I know as we get closer to 80,000 gold, that's sort of our ceiling. But Obey, right now they trail by 6,000. And with that Gold Fury, they would have cut it, but it was leashed.
It doesn't seem that NRG wants to put themselves in a position where Variety would get maximized damage. So they're going to try to spread Obey out and look for the isolated target. Allow Adapting to dive that backline with his ultimate. Maybe iRaffer can bail him out with an ultimate of his own. And then Dimi can easily join his brother.
We'll see if that's the case. Dimi looking for it. Adapting, listening to the pings here on the right side of the map. As we said, this one, Obey can certainly still win. This is a much different story than game number 1. I think both composition and gameplay has helped Obey sort of find themselves here, but again, the positioning has just been really rough.
Variety getting stunned and rooted into place. The ultimate onto emilitoo, forcing himself to go into the skies, and now the counter aggression. NRG still waiting.
Cops, treble on the right side. I guess the cops are coming. We'll see. I got a little jumbled there. I'm sorry, folks. But NRG, they're grouping up here on the right side. Adapting, looking for the flank. And as we adjust, let's listen to NRG as they make their play on the tower.
I'm taking tower. I'm taking for days.
Chiron guy. Tower.
Get tower.
Keep going. Can we get a Phoenix?
No bees on Chiron. Okay, be careful then. We can disengage. You have access up.
He's pushing it left.
That's good.
I have Alter. Bees and 5.
Yeah. I'm mounting.
Stunning. Silence.
Push out Vulcan out.
I'm on it. Nemesis in the back.
Disengage. I have wolf. I can wall them off. Just run.
Fuck you. Will you fight?
Backing. Yeah, back.
I see charging down.
I'm okay. I'm looking at
back.
The mark of a good team, they're just as excited about disengaging as they are engaging. A lot of times I think teams can get ahead of themselves, get excited, push too hard, and all of a sudden they find themselves knee-deep in a bad situation without a paddle. Here, NRG, we're very excited about that disengage.
They're just so comfortable playing in this late game scenario. Even though they only found 1 kill against Variety, they still don't really want to hard commit to this Phoenix. They know what's at stake here. They really want to separate the gap away from Obey right now, with NRG at 5 points and Obey at 4. They don't want to make this a split and then have that important match at the last day of this weekend.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it's interesting when you see a team as dominant as NRG, when you see them play safe, you kind of sit there and go, why? But a rich man doesn't become rich by spending all his money. And I think that's where NRG comes from. They've been safe, and that's why they've been so successful up until this point. Adapting to take to the sky, looking for a secondary initiation. Lands on the backside. Ataraxia takes some damage, but there's the flank out of a couple of players from Obey. Variety sends a couple of players running, and CaptainTwig sends Adapting packing. There's trouble for Dimi. Taunted into the damage, but he receives the blessing from the Scarab. Knocked up and, ooh, problems.
Gets revived. And now iRaffer forced into a bad spot. He's going to get chased down by Variety and Twig. That's 2 members dead from NRG. And this is so uncharacteristic of them in the late game. It was Adapting that actually went back in.
Now, don't forget, Obey.
The Titan.
Exactly. Obey's Titan is in trouble. The left side Phoenix is down for the 2nd time. Titan's down to half HP. Here comes emilitoo. He's riding up the left side. He knows PrettyPrime's the only one here. Gets the lift. It's going to miss, but in trouble as the mage is targeted, chunking down.
It's going down!
There's the hits. Pulse irradiate. The Titan's still alive. emilitoo does not have the ultimate available. He's very low. Had he killed the Vulcan, I think that was game, but PrettyPriMe played that perfectly.
This is the kind of play that NRG are really known for, despite not having a numbers advantage. Dimi sacrificing himself at Fire Giant, emilitoo distracting them at the Titan for so long, not allowing Obey to really get this Fire Giant quick enough to take advantage and start knocking down some towers of their own.
emilitoo trying to make the big boy play right there, can't quite handle it, but Yammyn gets taunted. Obey still on the Fire Giant, just a little bit of a delay for Obey. Fire Giant still on the menu, and emilitoo here showed up one more time. Again, trying to delay. CaptainTwig taking some damage. Adapting lands from the sky. There's the ultimate out of Nemesis to turn around, and emilitoo rains hell, steals the Fire Giant away from Obey, and that's going to be problematic as Adapting. He's going to fall down one more time, but they snatch the objective away.
They're so good late game delaying the Fire Giant, and now I thought it was going to be game with Obey getting all these kills, but the fact that they don't get the Fire Giant delays the push, and they always have to worry about this left-hand side. That Titan is too low to be neglected. The wards coming out of Obey have to be all over the place. Looking over here, there is a Sentry ward on the side of Energy in the mid lane. Maybe Dimi's thinking of a backdoor?
It's possible. It's very possible. Dimi on the tier, not exactly the character that I would chalk up to be the #1 character to really go for it.
It could be Dimi and adapting, using the Thor ultimate, global presence, as well as the Lawbringer over that mid Phoenix wall. Those two is all it really needs to take to find the easy Titan kill. And as long as they're not able to, if they can ward and see adapting, then it shouldn't be allowed in Dimi to really find the kill of his own.
For sure. We'll see how that one works out. Because, like I said, the tier is not a character. Freya marching up the left side looking for the solo Titan kill. I see that.
Yes,
I get it.
absolutely.
It makes sense. But a tier, on the other hand, I mean, look how tanky the character has been built this time around. It's not exactly a crit Nemesis. So I'm not sure if Dimi's the character that could really jump in there and get it done.
No, not at all. But without those towers on the side of Obey, the Titan is very low protection-wise. With that health pool being at around, seems that's around 10 to 20%, somewhere in that margin. And the rest of Obey have to sit around the left-hand side. They're expecting Energy to go for that game-ending push, but Energy, they don't want to do that. They're just going to take their time. They're all going to group up in the mid lane. They know that there's still 2 fire waves that, as the third one spawns on the left-hand side.
The pings coming out. You can see the pings on the left lane were to denote where the minions were here, as where the minions from both sides had met, and the fact that the Phoenix is going to respawn rather soon. So whether it's Obey or Energy, both teams are probably want to be aware of that fact.
And Energy, they need to get that left side Phoenix down again to not allow the Titan to regain the health. That's so important to keep the threat of the end game potential on Obey's side, because then Obey can never leave their base with that time being so low. That could maybe allow Energy to pick up a free Fire Giant and then start going for more of the mid and right side Phoenix sieges.
And because of the composition that Energy have, if Obey get into the spot where they have to sit in the throne room, there's enough players on Energy that can go above the defense. You've got adapting, obviously. emilitoo can ascend to the skies and do work, and then Yammyn can drop the circle of protection from a distance. They don't have to fight through the defense of Obey if they get into the throne room.
iRaffer taking so much poke from Ataraxia. Has to respect that late game damage out of the Chiron that went for a full penetration build with the Masamune also. We haven't really talked about that item a lot quite yet, and it works out really well against characters that have a larger health pool than you do.
And so that's they're going to be looking to target those tanky characters. Dimi now with the Magi's Blessing, going to be a little bit harder to control. That's probably a good thing if you're rooting for Energy at home. But if you're rooting for Obey, they're still very much so in this. Down 4,000 gold at a point in the game where the gold is just barely relevant. The kills, well, those don't really matter either. What matters now, it's not about what happened earlier in the game. It's not what happened earlier in the set. Hell, it's not about what happened 10 minutes ago in this game. It's about what Obey and Energy are going to bring to the very next team fight, the very next sequence. It all kind of rests on this next set.
And Obey, they recognize that the Fire Giant is not responding for another minute or so. They're grouped up on the left-hand side, able to take away the tier 1. They see the teleport coming out of Dimi, and they back off. They don't want to get collapsed on from adapting. The global ultimate could easily devastate all of Obey.
I mean, this is the play that Adapting's been looking for the entire game. He's showed his hand. It's not that big of a secret. And Adapting again here. This time he gets spotted out by CaptainTwig. Not going to surprise the team on the flank. Adapting waiting. And as soon as he pops that ult, Obey's gonna run.
Yeah, so absolutely. And Obey doing a great job forcing the action away from their base, because now with that Phoenix respawning, the Titan has regained all of its health. So now they don't have to worry about emilitoo being ever so cheeky trying to find that game-ending push.
It's a very important delay for Obey coming out there, right? They have to. That's why we saw the pings coming out so aggressively on the left lane, making sure that those minions were further away from the Phoenix than they were at that point in time, allowing that aggressive push up.
Fire Giant respawning in 15 seconds. Both teams recognize this. They need to find the right wards and maybe catch somebody out of position. And this is where team compositions really matter around the Fire Giant dance, looking for those easy engages. And I think that Energy is a lot easier to find these picks between their comp with the whoop from Freya, the root and the pull from iRaffer, the long distance stun from Adapting followed up by Yammyn. Whereas on the side of Obey, you have the dash taunt from PANDALIKE following up with the meatball from PrettyPriMe, and that's really about it.
I mean, really what we've seen Obey depend on is that Vulcan ultimate. It's been successful some of the time, not all of the time, and that's been a little bit troublesome. CaptainTwig on this Nemesis as well has been able to get off some key ultimates that have led to some key deaths, but I stress key, or I stress some, not all, and that's the problem there.
And the engage onto PANDALIKE, getting stunned out by Yammyn, circle of protection onto himself. Holding onto his ultimate is PrettyPriMe. The rest of Obey backing off. The meditation from PANDALIKE being used really early in that engage.
And it's important that PrettyPrime's holding on to that ultimate. We saw him very quick with the trigger finger a little bit earlier in the match, but again, now it's down to the wire. You're looking for that Fire Giant. Once that Vulcan ultimate comes out, you know that the Fire Giant is a little bit more, is a little bit less liable to be stolen.
Great disengage from adapting. Short hammer teleport away, instantly stunning CaptainTwig. No possible engagement, but Dimi in the back line, forcing the purification from Ataraxia. iRaffer finding the root, and now adapting, stunning Ataraxia. The double tap to defender of Olympus, trying to keep Ataraxia alive.
The flank is beautiful coming out of NRG, and there's the long-range stun onto Variety as well. CaptainTwig, and again, pop the shield, and disengage.
NRG have the health pool advantage. They can easily group up around Fire Giant now. They counter the ward on the bottom side. They see the ward on the top. They could easily take that one out as well.
Obey's still here. Obey are still here. Like the window is not open. The window is just kind of like snuck up a little bit. You can see the Fire Giant. All this does is give NRG a little bit more of an advantageous position, but Obey are still very much here. Athena doesn't have an ult, and that's okay.
That's fine. We see that Ataraxia comebacks into the team fight, as well as iRaffer. They were both very low, having to back off. So it was technically a 4-on-4 if something happened around that Fire Giant. But now it's Obey wanting to start a team fight.
There's the dash on iRaffer, and Dimi's going to control the rest of the players. Stun ball's going to be detonated a little bit early. No consequence from that one. CaptainTwig gets pulled, but emilitoo pulls down PANDALIKE. There's trouble on the backside. PrettyPriMe is so low, but Ataraxia is at 0. CaptainTwig able to answer one back for his team. It's a 2-for-1 so far. NRG not done just yet. PrettyPriMe on the front side. Adapting, catching up. Can't find the hammer hit, but finds the Zerkers. Now looking towards Variety. Good stun coming out of the Ghost Catcher, but it don't matter. The good doctor is dead. Double kill for the jungler.
They found 4 members dead. They only lost 1 in the process, and now Dimi catching Twig on the dash. iRaffer should be easily able to find the route into the pull. This is going to be at the other side. Look at Variety's face.
He's just absolutely done. He knows his team has been toasted and roasted, and it's the end of this one, folks. NRG, they take them out in a single team fight, and Obey just watch. The Titan will inevitably fall, and with that victory, that leaves 2 for NRG. That means 3 for the points, and that's that. Your points leader is now NRG with 7 in total.
It took 46 minutes in game number 2. This time around, they ended the last game with only 2 deaths, dropping 18 this time around. So they need to find ways to be a little bit more cleaner, but overall a great performance from NRG.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I don't think that was anything that you could really get on top of NRG for. I think Obey just played a lot better in game number 2.
Absolutely. Adapting was switching up his style. We saw it clearly. He was playing off of the aggression from CaptainTwig that whole game. We saw it in game number 1, being more effective on the Nemesis, and the Thor, unfortunately, Dimi kind of dropped the ball, I would say, early game, allowing Variety to kind of take off in a very good snowball position, losing his blue buff, I think, twice in a row, and that was helping out Obey, but they never could really start grouping up, getting these Gold Furies, getting these towers, and as a result, NRG was doing such a good job in the late game, just constantly holding off. We saw the split push from emilitoo. We saw Dimi sacrificing his life around the Fire Giant. Just great late game control and presence from NRG.
What it came down to was we saw that big power push around that level 12 moment for the Zhong. He really came into fruition. Everything happened. It was perfect. And then they weren't able to do anything with it. It was a fantastic position for Obey, but unable to push further into the future of the game. Instead, it took a while, but NRG was able to rotate all the way around and find the W. We've got 3 men on the desk that are going to break it down. Let's toss it to them.
Thanks so much, Tom. Joined once again by Aggro and the coach of Cyclone GG, who's about to play some games shortly. Hazer as well. Obviously, that's it. The second game, Zhong was the first thing to really mention there, and it got off to a good start, Aggro.
Huge start for Variety. He looked great. The team fights were going well. They get a big win by the Gold Fury, and then Variety walks by mids, dies. PANDALIKE dies trying to save his life. and it all kind of falls apart.
But this was the start of the game. Obviously, we saw Obey did get first blood over in the solo lane, but then in the team fights, he really made an impact. And Hazer, there was no shell on Energy.
Yeah, crazy that you're not picking up a shell or a sprint against a Zhong, who also picked up Gem of Isolation. But
well, the sprint was available for iRaffer there, just to make sure that,
grab a sprint?
just in case, because people call you out for that.
Yeah, I deserve it.
He did have sprint, but at the same time, like you do need the shell as well, right?
Yeah, the shell is just incredible. I think they were going to plan on relying on the Ice Assault for the damage mitigation whenever the Zhong decided to ult, which I think they did really well in the latter half of the game. They didn't allow the Zhong to get those huge damage numbers off. They managed to avoid the Vulcan ults at the same time, and I think that's really what propelled them to victory late game.
Now, we mentioned as well there towards the start of that, you mentioned Variety did get caught around the speed buff, and that was a big impact there for those boys. emilitoo actually just going off at the end of the game as well because of that. But what happened was he was around speed. Why was he there, Aggro?
I don't know. That's my analysis. I've got no idea. There's no reason to be there.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone else on your team is either in base or respawning. I mean, you've got no help whatsoever. All of a sudden, it's a sea of green around you. You get the Athena ult, but all it does is kill your support as well. I have no explanation. I really don't.
So the rough situation. We did see Freya again, though, played by emilitoo, as I said earlier. And emilitoo, very good impact in that game yet again, Hazer. In the laning phase again, we saw him against the Chiron, and it still worked wonders.
Yeah.
This play, however, sorry to cut you off, but this play here was the big key on one of the team fights where he did catch CaptainTwig here.
Yeah, they caught the dash with the Isis Spirit Ball there, which is absolutely huge. Yammyn absolutely going ham in this fight. And Emil, you don't normally think of him as that hard carry on this team, but these last few games on that Freya, he has looked terrifying. He's hitting everything. He's getting out of the laning phase ahead of Ataraxia, despite being on that late game Freya, and he's coming into these team fights and almost free casting and just getting his damage off on the right targets.
And look at his positioning here, Aggro. He falls back, but this fight is such an extended fight that all started with that banish on CaptainTwig, where they end up cleaning this up.
Exactly. I mean, he's got no relics and no ultimate right now, and here you see the Scarab's Blessing go onto him, just to give him that gas pedal sort of capability to let him go into the team fight. Just great communication. You're right. If I'm another team, and here's some hints for you, Hazer, I don't want to see Emil on this Freya ever again the rest of this tournament. He's just looked way too strong on it.
You don't have to give advice to other teams.
Well, if he's going to be nice enough to come up on the desk with us, we can try and help him out.
Okay, I can see that one. Fair play. But then we saw the Fire Giant fights as well. Obey did come back in a little bit, Hazer, as the game went on. And then there was an interesting call around the Fire Giant where they couldn't decide whether to commit for it or stop Freya going for the back door.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys could hear the comms at home, but we were sitting through in the arena and we were listening to the comms, and you could hear Prime saying, "I'm not sure," and then he said, "Oh no, I'm fine. I can defend the Titan, against the Freya." But by that time, the team had already gotten off of FG. They decided to back, and that's really a big turning point on the game. If they'd committed to that FG, picked it up, they could have then pushed down those tier 2s, those Phoenixes, and maybe won the game off it. But unfortunately, just that little bit of indecision in comms cost them big time.
And the one thing you can't do against NRG, to be found out, is give them a window, because they will exploit it as much as possible, and they did it in that game.
Without a doubt. I mean, you get to 50 minutes, around 50 minutes up against the Freya, they're going to be able to turn it around. And we saw in that last fight by the Fire Giant, it all started with baiting Frezzy in, using that Athena as bait, dropping the Ice ultimate. All of a sudden, Athena's gone from the fight. You Sanctuary away the Vulcan ultimate, and you can just kind of steamroll after that.
Still sorry for Obey, though. I mean, they try so hard every single time here, and it seems to get so close against NRG that they still can't find the win.
Yeah, it's crazy again. We look at the player damages, not too far away. Kills, huge difference. It seems that the kind of pattern of these games was NRG picking the right targets, Obey playing really, really well, hitting everything, picking the right picks, but just unfortunately that target selection, not able to finish off kills, and as such losing every fight, basically, every team fight.
Really good performance by both those two teams there, but we do have the captain of NRG standing alongside F. right now for an interview. iRaffer is ready. Tell us about that cassette.
Thanks a lot, Hindu. Standing here next to iRaffer. Again, you guys wound up on the positive side. This time, you win 2 games, though, however. That's going to give you 3 points. Let's dive deep into this matchup specifically, because it was kind of fun watching. Game number 1, you guys tore it up. Talk to me about what went right in game 1.
It was just basically the picks and bans. They went perfectly. In fact, both drafts went perfectly. But we just executed it.
I'd agree.
A lot better, especially with the Terra 2, because we've not been practicing Terra much. So we were kind of hoping they'd ban it in game 2, which they did.
I'm going to come back to that Terra in a moment, but very simplistic answer for game number 1. Is it as simple for game 2? What went wrong there? Obey certainly looked a little bit more powerful.
I honestly don't know. I would have to go back into the VOD and actually see for myself what went wrong. Obviously, there was a few Khepri ults, as usual, That's a tradition for me now. that were not communicated, like between us as a team, you know, but also myself. So I'll take the blame for that.
For sure. Well, either way, you guys looked great. Let's head back to that Terra that you said you guys haven't really been practicing. What does she bring? I mean, everybody just bans her out completely. Why is she so powerful?
Well, what score did we win? It pretty much sums it up, right?
I mean, I guess so. But more importantly, looking towards the future, you guys are the points leader right now. 7 points so far. Obey only have 4 at the moment. So you guys are going to be one of the leaders here. Assuming you make it over to Super Regionals, what's different here about NRG this year versus Panthera last year?
I guess it's more of the fairy crafting, the drafting. I'm not going to say our mechanics have improved because, you know, they're really high tier anyway, so it's hard to say whether we've improved, but definitely the fairy crafting. Between every player, every single player is like fairy crafted their own role a lot more, especially myself, Yammyn, and Emil.
Well, it's certainly shown. I mean, emilitoo, you heard the analysts say that, you know, Emil isn't really looked at as one of the harder carries on the team, but here this weekend, absolutely been blowing it off the top. What can you say about emilitoo and his sort of transition this season?
He's received a lot of peel, so I think that kind of backed it on it because I never peel for him. I just thought, just give it adapting, give the game to adapting, he'll win. Emil's just like, whatever.
So you're finally helping him out?
Yeah, he still calls me a fucking ginger, but
sounds about right.
He'll have the odd Khepri ult every now and then.
I mean, if the shoe fits, wear it, and I certainly see that. Either way, that's going to do it for NRG. We're going to move on to set number 2 in just a minute. Stay tuned to hi-rez TV.